All right, thank you, Chris. The state legislature is considering a bill this week to send $20 million in state taxpayer money to the federal government. Paying the feds would let Louisiana end the road home, an old Hurricane Katrina recovery program that many of us remember and not fondly. The state agreed to stop suing thousands of homeowners to take back their road home money only after our David Hammer investigation last year showed how unfair those lawsuits were. But Louisiana still won't help almost 500 families who already went ahead and paid the money back. David went straight to the governor to find out why.
Yes, ma'am.
U.S. Housing and Urban Development Secretary Marcia Fudge came to New Orleans in February to celebrate a special agreement that would finally end the Road Home Housing Recovery Program after 17 painful years.
The federal government is doing something that it has never done before for the people of Louisiana.
What HUD did for Louisiana is let the state drop almost 5,000 lawsuits against its own residents who got road home money and rebuilt their homes with it, but didn't comply with the fine print. About 3,500 of those families received $30,000 elevation grants to literally raise their houses off the ground, but they used it to finish repairs instead. Last May, we exposed how unfair the lawsuits were, that $30,000 wasn't nearly enough to elevate a house, that some homeowners were told they could use the money for repairs instead, and even that the road home rules were later changed to officially allow it. And so the state stopped trying to take back any more money. Congressman Troy Carter said that wouldn't have happened without our investigation last year with our partners at ProPublica and the Times-Picayune.
Thank you guys for your story that gave light to it. It certainly aided us in being able to make the argument that it's only right.
When the agreement was announced February 16th, Celeste Matthews was ecstatic. The state had told her it was going to court for a judgment against her on the same day we exposed the unfair lawsuits. A few weeks later, Louisiana paused collection efforts.
But thank God, because I think by y'all coming out, that delayed the lien, but they were talking about doing it because I told them I sure didn't have no $30,000 to pay them.
But others weren't so lucky. 425 families paid the state back about $5 million before the state dropped its collection efforts. And the state collected another $1.8 million even after it stopped pursuing legal judgments.
I was paying $400 a month.
$400, and you were only making a little
I was
over
only
$1,000.
getting $1,098 a month. That's it.
Judy Baptiste of New Orleans East heard the state was dropping the lawsuits on her birthday.
And it made me upset. I didn't know whether to cry, holler.
She started paying back $23,000 in 2018 and finished paying it last September. She paid the last $3,000 after the state stopped its collection efforts. Did you know at that point that they had said we're not going to be collecting from people anymore?
No, sir. Nobody never called me, and I was calling these people like every 2 or 3 months. Nobody never said nothing.
Lisa Ruiz of Slidell paid back about $31,000 in 2020 by taking money out of a special fund she'd set aside to take care of her severely autistic son, Jay.
Everything I do, every penny I save, it's his. It's to take care of him.
Then she learned the state was dropping the lawsuits, but not for those who had already paid.
I paid it back, and now their debt is forgiven, and mine is not because I did the right thing.
I asked Governor John Bell Edwards about people like Baptiste and Ruiz during the February press conference.
Is an unfortunate circumstance, but it was one that was necessitated by the agreement that was in place at the time. But we've worked very hard to get to a point where we can say no more.
But Secretary Fudge bristled at our questions. She wanted to focus on the people who were helped, not the ones who were left out.
I think you all don't understand how hard this was.
Right.
This was hard. And for the people standing here with me to work with us the way they did, you should be praising and clapping and saying thank you.
Housing advocate Andronika Morris says government officials shouldn't be congratulated for an agreement that still burns hundreds of homeowners.
You all laid that out in black and white and color, which is what stopped the lawsuits but they're still not stopping the overall harm.
The thousands of homeowners who were let off the hook don't have to pay anymore because the state is paying back HUD from other sources. The Road Home Administrator, ICF, agreed to pay back $12 million to settle a lawsuit over how it handed out the grants. And Edwards said he'll ask the legislature in the session starting this week to spend another $20.5 million in taxpayer money to clear the debt to HUD.
Thank goodness we have excess money in the state of Louisiana today, which we didn't have when I became governor.
The state has a $1.5 billion surplus. The legislative session, he's going to ask for $20 million. Do you think he should ask for $25 million and pay the money back?
He sure should.
Yeah.
Because if it wouldn't be for us, he wouldn't even be in a seat.
Edwards Commissioner of Administration Jay Darden said it isn't that simple. Returning the money to the 425 families who already paid it back might be the fair thing to do, but it could also be unconstitutional.
Because it was a judgment legally rendered, to give that money back to the individuals would be construed as a gratuitous donation.
Darden said the legislature could take the chance of being sued and approve the payments anyway, but when we asked the House Appropriations Chairman, Jerome Zerang, if lawmakers would consider doing that, he said nobody had brought it up until we called him.
How would you feel if someone said, I'm sorry, I can make her or him whole, but I can't make you whole? That's not fair.
Not fair to those who wouldn't or couldn't fight back. David Hammer, Eyewitness News.
Loyola University law professor John Lovett disagrees with Darden's claim that repaying these families could be an unconstitutional donation. He said such payments would likely qualify as restitution, which is perfectly legal under the Louisiana Constitution.